Good evening. My name is Velma Greene, and I am the president of the Eastern Panhandle Alumnae Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We are elated that you are here and taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. I understand with the holiday fast approaching, we overstand. We hope that tonight you will find or hear something that will be very informative, useful, and needed to start your college application journey. Yes.
Yolanda, you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. Good evening, everybody. We truly wanted to welcome you this evening to Finding and Winning Scholarships Workshop. I am a member of the Berkeley County Schools Diversity Council, and we've enjoyed partnering with the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Eastern Panhandle Alumnae Chapter to present information that will assist you. I can personally attest to this, for they provided me and my boys with priceless information that assisted us in getting grants and scholarships to further our education. We, the Diversity Council, began partnering with them after our first time participating in the Alfred Street Baptist Church HBCU College Fair. We took 2 bus loads of juniors and seniors to the HBCU fair, and many came back being accepted into several of the universities. We thought it would be best to not only provide our students with the opportunity to gain that experience, but to also provide them with the tools to ensure they could financially be prepared for the duration of their college years. Each year since, we have had the pleasure of working with the Deltas to enlighten our youth in Berkeley County, and they do a fabulous job. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Carla.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Carla Hunter, and I am the chair of the Education Committee for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Eastern Panhandle Alumnae Chapter. I would like to welcome you to our annual scholarship workshop and informational session, and we are happy to co-sponsor tonight's session with the Berkeley County Diversity Council. You are definitely in for a treat this evening, and I ask that you get out a paper and pen and take some notes because we have some dynamic presenters this evening. One of our presenters, Carolyn Togans, is a former educator for Jefferson County, West Virginia, and Frederick County, Maryland, and she works with students in the community to help them with their scholarship pursuits. And also, you heard from our president, Velma Greene, and she is a former educator in Fairfax County, Virginia. And she also has worked with students to fill out scholarship applications, and both of them have a wealth of knowledge that will benefit you. Just some housekeeping notes. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat, and they will be addressed at the end as time permits. And we also encourage you to keep your devices on mute. Thank you. Let's get started. Today, we will cover where to look for scholarships, getting started, 7 scholarship application components and tips, and then we're going to finish up. So let's do a poll. Let's get to know you. We want to know who is on our webinar tonight. Can you launch the poll? Okay, so pick the option below that best describes you. And we'll just give you, because we got 0 of 1 answered. Here are our results. So it looks like, oh, we're tied with parents and guardians. 31% are 12th graders and 31% are parents and guardians. But those 15% that are in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, thank you for coming out, because it's never too early to start looking for scholarships or researching college or post-secondary education. And then we have 8% other. So, oh, and 15% educators. Welcome to the webinar this evening also. We hope that you'll be able to take some information back to your students.
Okay, where to look. And again, I am Carolyn Togans, and I will be doing the first half of the presentation, and so will Velma Greene will finish up with the second half. So where to look. I would suggest that you check with your high school counselor for a scholarship booklet, or look at your school's website for information. I also found out this year that Berkeley County Schools has an excellent senior guide for the class of 2025. I would suggest that if you're a senior in Berkeley County, that you make sure that you pick that booklet up from your counselor. It has a wealth of information in it. Jefferson County High School also has a senior newsletter booklet that is also helpful. So if you're in Jefferson High School, you can also pick that booklet up from your counselor. There are some websites here that you can research for scholarships. And they're listed right there on the screen. And you can also check with your charitable organizations and parent companies. One of the sites that I would like to emphasize is the Eastern West Virginia Community Foundation Scholarships. It's on the screen, the site and the telephone number for you to look into that for information. And that deadline is February 28th. It's not hard to look for that, but keep in mind that that information needs to be done online, and you need to include FAFSA information in with those scholarships. Now, your goal is to minimize your debt. So I want you to apply early and for as many scholarships as possible, particularly those offering a full or partial 4-year scholarship. I know that in Jefferson County, we have the McCormick Scholarship, which offers a full scholarship for 4 years if you attend a West Virginia School of Higher Learning. And there's also the Roy and Gwen Steele Foundation Scholarship, which students from quite a few counties can apply. Jefferson, Berkeley, Morgan, I think it even goes up to New Hampshire and some of those counties. But that scholarship also must be used in West Virginia. And there's a Frida Fine Scholarship, which is Berkeley County only, which will pay for tuition at Shepherd University. One caution that I would like to mention is that when researching for scholarships, don't pay money to get money. If someone or a company is asking for money to help you manage the scholarship search, most likely it's a scam. And the other thing I want to mention is that look at your school scholarship website again. And when you're doing your FAFSA, they will be using your previous year income tax information. Let me share just a little bit of information about the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. Carla is going to go over that later on. But one thing I want to mention, that everyone should complete the FAFSA, no matter your parents' income, unless your parents earn more than $350,000 a year and have net assets of more than $1 million. And I don't think anybody online is in that category. But I will leave that for Carla to address. Next slide. Getting started. Build a relationship with your school counselor, as I said before. And when you get those applications, you need to read the entire application, scholarship application carefully and make sure you're eligible. For instance, if you're going into nursing and the scholarship says it's for a business major, you certainly don't want to apply for that one. Or if it's for a veterinary school and you're going to be going into education, don't waste your time filling out that information. Couple things I want to mention as you see those slides is if a scholarship states priority given, then apply for that scholarship because let me give you an example. Let's say the priority is given to an education major, but maybe no one in education applies for that scholarship and you're a business major. You could possibly get that scholarship by a process of elimination. So you keep that in mind when it says priority given to. If an application says don't fold, use a large manila envelope. If it states 500-word essay or less, do so. Judges and evaluators are looking to see if you qualify, if all required documents are included, and if your application is presented well, neat, and error-free. And if you answered all the questions. So you might want to use a checklist. Make yourself a checklist to make sure that you have everything included. And then if you're supposed to get the packet to your school counselor, get it to your school counselor on time. But if that scholarship packet says mail to a particular person, and this happened to a student that I remember, gave the packet to the counselor, but was supposed to mail the scholarship to a particular organization. So you need to be careful that you follow the rules when you're looking at the scholarship packets. When mailing your application, mail early. If close to the deadline, have the postmaster date stamp it. If mailing out of state, send certified mail, and we've received those before too. Return receipt or with delivery confirmation. And look for the term received by and postmarked by. Received by means that the application must be in the hands of the provider by the due date given on the application. Postmarked by, if the application says postmarked by, that means the scholarship packet must be date stamped before or on the due date given on the application. Because if that application is delayed in the mail and it was postmarked by the correct date and arrives late, then that application would still be accepted. Next slide. These are the 7 common scholarship components that we're going to talk about. The information form, not all scholarship packets will ask for information form, but you can find that information form online in with the school's applications. And then we're going to talk about the essay/personal statement. Sometimes a scholarship will give you a question that you need to answer. That would be an essay. And your personal statement is just information that is telling about you and your strengths. Resume, not all scholarship will ask for a resume. I'm often telling my students to put a resume in there because it does still tell more information that about you. Financial needs statements, sometimes I'll ask for something like your family income ranges from $0 to $33,000, and then $33,000 up to $60,000, then $60,000 over. So that generally is a financial needs statement. Sometimes they will ask you to put that in. And of course, your transcript, letter of recommendations, and then some scholarship will ask for an interview. I know that McCormick does, and the Roy Steele Scholarship were asked for an interview. Next slide. Information form. That information form that I was talking about, sometimes we'll ask for some background information, personal and academic information. Maybe it might even ask you for your current grade point average. It may include questions about your family. And whoops, something popped up here. Okay. Whoops, extracurricular activities and accomplishments. Now, not all application packets have an information form. If the packet requires one, look at your scholarship website for a copy. Complete, include in your application packet, but they may not ask you for that. Next. Information form tips. Follow directions carefully. I can't emphasize that enough. Follow directions carefully. Complete the entire form. Looks are everything. Always type or use black ink. I had a student one year use red ink, crossed out misspelled word. And so when you look at that, it doesn't give you a good feeling. You're thinking that student didn't want to take time and do it properly. And sometimes it includes your GPA, but you make sure you look at your transcript, because whatever you put on another paper in that packet should match the transcript that you have from your school. And I many times tell people to make a copy, because a lot of that information you can use for another scholarship. So make a copy so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Also, keep in mind that some scholarships will ask you to submit an acceptance letter with the packet. An acceptance letter can be from any school of higher learning, even if it is not your first choice. I've had students before that say, well, I'm waiting on to get an acceptance letter from this school that I really want to go to. Doesn't make any difference what acceptance letter you put in that packet. Doesn't have to be your first choice, doesn't have to be your second choice, doesn't have to be your third choice. If it requires an acceptance letter, you need to put one in there. And another suggestion is that if you are putting an acceptance letter in a packet, and that acceptance letter notes that they've offered you a large amount of money, it could be a private, student was going to a private school, cost $40,000. Well, they were going to give her $20,000, but still she had to come up with $20,000. So that's still a lot of money. So pick an acceptance letter that doesn't show that you are getting any large size of amount of money from that school, because you still might be trying to find $15,000 or $20,000 to go to that school. Another thing is that selection committees and judges and evaluators review many scholarship packets, and they must find a way to weed out and narrow the selection. Including an acceptance letter stating a large amount of money, as I said before, could give the appearance that your need is not need-based and not as great as another applicant. So it's best to just select another letter. Again, I can't emphasize the importance of sloppy writing and inaccuracy can hurt your chances of receiving a scholarship. If you are not the best writer, type it. But definitely use black ink. Okay. Next slide. Okay, your essay personal statement. What makes a good essay or good personal statement? Your personal statement is critical to winning a scholarship because it lets the selection committee get to know you beyond grades and test scores and anything that's listed on your transcript. Many committees are looking for well-rounded students. You don't have to have a job, but you have to show that if you have a 3.9, 0.99 grade point average, that you are active in your school and that you're also giving back to your community. because this is what they're looking for. Well-rounded students who can not only show their excellence in academics, but also in athletics, extracurricular activities, and community service. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to write a compelling scholarship essay or personal statement that conveys your background, your experiences, your ambitions, and your personality. It's your opportunity to make a strong and lasting impression. Remember that others have a high grade point average too. So make your essay or personal statement impressive. Make it a wow. Make it so when that evaluator reads your scholarship, they're going to say, wow, I am really impressed by this student. Don't put in meaningless information, especially when they are reviewing many applications. If you're reviewing 30 or 40 applications, you don't want meaningless information put in it. Next slide.
I wonder how it is at home. I wonder how it is at home.
Woman.
When it,
Okay, essay personal statement tip.
who you spoke to?
These are some
Spoke to Dave.
Dave.
These are some tips that you may want to consider as you do your personal statement and your essay. You may want to make an outline to organize your thoughts. And then create a strong introduction, supporting arguments, and appropriate conclusion. Now remember that every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when you write that, always be careful to say at the end, thank you for considering me for this scholarship. And that should be probably the last thing that you say in your essay or your personal statement. You can and other ways that I was just thinking too, is that sometimes students say, well, I don't think I'm going to put in for that scholarship because it's need-based. And both my parents make quite a bit of money, and I don't think we're going to qualify for that scholarship. Well, let me tell you some ways you can qualify for need-based. If you're in college, you have a sibling that's in college, or you have a parent that's in college. Maybe you had a parent that was recently unemployed, or there were medical bills due to illness of one of your siblings or your parents. Maybe that your household is also financially taking care of the needs of an elderly relative. All of those aspects can make you more of a qualify more for a need-based scholarship. So when you're doing your personal statement or essay, you may want to, if it's a need-based scholarship, you want to include that information in that so that they'll know, oh yeah, it's a two-parent family, and their salary is pretty good, but boy, they're putting out some money for some other things too. So keep that in mind. You may have a twin. We've a twin that's going to college the same time. So all that can help qualify you for a need-based scholarship. The other ways that you can enhance your essay or personal statement is make sure you add, if you volunteered 100 hours at the VA Medical Center, and that you decided because of that experience, you wanted to pursue a degree in physical therapy, put that in your essay. Or if you had a special teacher who had a positive influence on you, so you want to go into education. Or it could be that you had a relative who had health issues, so your goal is to be a nurse or a doctor. That tells information about you, about your character, about your personality. Or you were a Boy Scout and you built benches for elementary school walking trail. Or you decided that you were going to raise money or donate books to a neo unit at a hospital. That tells, again, like I said, that tells your character. So include those items into your writing. Now, I've been assisting students more than 20 years. I don't know if it's 20 or 25, I can't remember, in navigating the scholarship process. So everyone has a compelling story to tell. You have a compelling story to tell, you must tell it. Because when evaluators are looking at those scholarships, They don't know you from anyone else, but if you have a compelling story, they get a mental picture about who you are and what your goals are. Next. With your resume, it's a good idea to write a list of activities, achievements, and skills you have. Use this to fill in sections of your resume. For those 9th graders who are on and 10th and 11th graders, this is a good opportunity now for you to start writing down or typing or whatever, every activity you've done in 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, your achievements, your skills, so that when you come into 12th grade, you will already have some of that written down. Because I've worked with students before, and I'll set them at the table and I'll say, now tell me what you've done. And it's amazing how some things, I said, well, what about this? Have you ever done this? You ever done that? And it's amazing how the things you don't remember when you get in 12th grade, things that you don't remember that you did in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And sometimes if you can't remember things, ask a parent. You know, sometimes a parent says, oh, you don't remember, you did this in 9th grade, but you don't remember it. So it's a good idea to start that process early. And just remember, your resume should include the information that highlights your strength. Next slide. Okay, so this is just a sample of a resume. If you get online, you can find all kinds of student resumes that you can use a pattern after. This is just one simple one, but there's many more out there that you can look at. There's even samples of students' resumes that are already done that you can look at. So, but make sure it includes your name, your phone number, email address at the top. I've also didn't say this, but you want to put your address, yes, at the top. That one doesn't have an address, but it should. If your email address is offbeat, like PokemonServer.com or Big Dog at Comcast.net or CutiePie@gmail.com, consider getting a new professional sounding one that includes your name. Review one of the other things, and Soror Greene mentioned it last year. Review your social media profiles and remove any inappropriate and immature material off of social media, because you don't want people to finding things that you had on there that's going to interfere with you getting a nice scholarship. Target your extracurricular activities specifically for your scholarships. For example, if the scholarship emphasizes community service, you want to list the volunteer hours and dates beside the activities. Use action words to convey your experience. Let me give you an example. Instead of just saying homeless at the church, you say fed the homeless at the church. And maybe it was 40 hours. Volunteered, instead of saying Shepherdstown Fire Company, volunteered at the Shepherdstown Fire Company Apple Butter Festival. And then maybe you want to put the number of hours. Collected, packed food items for the Jefferson County Ministries, so many hours. So look at your scholarship and see if it emphasizes community involvement, and you want to make sure that you emphasize it in your resume. Work experience. Even if you had a part-time job, own it for a few months. Maybe you only had it for a few days and you decided this job is not for me. You should still mention it. Scholarship judges do not expect every applicant to do many extended hours, but they expect you to spend your time doing something productive and not just on, playing games. Do something productive. So many applicants don't have a job. They are so busy with school activities and community involvement and church involvement that they don't have time to work a job. So, but it still shows that you're a well-rounded student. And of course, you want to include your honors and awards, and that will include your honor roll, honor societies, athletic awards, leadership roles, and if you're an officer of a club. Okay. Now, next slide.
Think I'm up next.
Yes, and now I am going to have Soror Velma Greene continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Carolyn. The financial needs statement. A financial needs statement provides insight into a scholarship applicant's and family need in financial assistance. Some scholarships place significant weight on financial need in selecting recipients. So show me the money. Next slide, please. Financial needs statement, some tips. Be sure to include your family size and hardships. Now, hardships can include health issues, deaths, medical bills, loss of employment, loss of housing, and a change in guardianship. I like to talk to you. I like to bring examples in. As you know, they're not computers that are selecting the recipients of these scholarships. They're real people, and real people have hearts. Real people have conscience. Real people have compassion, and that's what you're applying for. That's what you're trying to tug on. Now, I know, like I said, I sit on several boards, and what we do, everybody looks good on paper. Everybody has a good GPA. We have great recommendation letters. So we try to weed out and to find the perfect applicant. I'd like to tell you about a lady named Chalicia. And Chalicia was from Georgia, and she was the valedictorian of her class. So she had to give her speech. And when she gave her speech, she said, I have not been to anybody's home in this arena. None of my classmates, I've never been to your home. And the reason is because I didn't have a home for you to go to. See, she had been homeless since she was in the 4th grade. Her mother was an early childhood educator, but her mother developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so because of that, she lost, her employment, income. She lost her home. So they were homeless all through her elementary, middle, and high school. They lived in apartments sometime. They lived with friends. They lived in the car, in shelters, and wherever they could stay for the night. She maintained, like you said, a 4.5, almost 4.6 average. And she stated that 2 things kept her, and they were prayer and her books. See, she did not have the luxuries that other students had. She didn't have a computer. She did not have television. She did not have gaming systems. All she had was her books. Now, when she because she had taken so many classes, by the time she was a junior, she was taking college classes. And she had to get up at 6 o'clock to get to her college, to get to her high school by 9. Then she would go to college to take those classes. But one unfortunate thing happened. The one thing she always looked forward to in school was lunchtime. She knew at that time she could get a good meal because she did not know where her next meal was coming from. But because she had to go to the college, she's missed that meal a lot of times. She also mentioned how when you were in shelters, they had many rules. The rules could be what time you ate, what time you showered, what time the lights went out. And when she came home, sometimes at 9 o'clock, by the time she got home, she had missed shower time. She had missed meal time. She talked about how she had to put her cell phone under her cover at night to finish it and read up and finish her assignments because the lights were out in the shelter. Well, she got a full scholarship to Spelman University, and she majored in medicine. That's what she wanted to do. And when she finished school, she went to work for NIH. And then she wanted to go to med school. She applied for many med schools. She was accepted over 20 medical schools, but Yale reached out to her and said, if you can survive all of this due to your these adversities, then you can survive at Yale. So they gave her a full scholarship. When she graduated with her medical degree, and she also got a PhD. So she's on her way. She's doing very well. Her sister graduated the same year at another school, and her sister was a salutatorian of the class. So I just want to tell you about that. The next one includes information about other siblings or family members that are currently in college. And I think that Carolyn touched on this because I'll give you an instance. My sister is a judge and her husband is a lawyer. So, they make pretty decent salary, not millionaires by no stretch of the imagination. Well, she had a daughter to go to college and live on campus, but right behind her, she had a set of twins to go. So now my sister has 3 different kids in 3 different colleges with paying room and board and tuition. As you can see how the need got greater. So she was able to get some kind of aid for that. Be sure to mention if you live in a single parent household or if you are the first in your family to attend college. And avoid disclosing any financial planning that your family has done. We're going to adopt the military's policy. Don't tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't tell. Do not tell. And now I'm not going to say it. I'm asking you to lie. No, I'm not going to say that. But if they don't ask, you don't need to tell if your grandmother has been socking money away since you were born, or there's a college fund over here. Just do not tell about that. Next slide, please. Transcripts. Most scholarships require a high school transcript. Some may ask for an official transcript, and this means it must be submitted in a school envelope and sealed. And some scholarships will ask for discipline and attendance records, which often are included with the transcript. If they ask for your transcripts, please be honest. I'll tell you an incident that happened at Cornell. It was a young girl named Chloe. So Chloe, she was in college. She had scholarships. She had some financial aid. She had some also some all type of money avenues to go to school. Well, there's a little things called the National Student Clearing. And when her name came up, it showed that she had attended a community college, but she made all W's, so she withdrew. So when they did investigation, they found out she was involved in a cheating scandal. She said that because she made a W and she didn't get any credits, she did not put that information on her application to Cornell. Well, they found out. And of course, she was asked to not only leave the university, but she had to pay that money back. So she owed over $100,000 in money back because she did not disclose that she had attended a community college. So sometimes you do have to divulge information you may not want to. Transcript tips. Next, please. Always make a copy of your transcript to avoid having to pay duplicates. I know when I checked around for colleges, and they charge anywhere from $15 to $30 to send you your transcript. So make a copy and have it on hand. Not only do colleges ask for it, but sometimes you have an internship and they may ask for a copy of your transcript. So, or a job, or like I said, scholarships and things like that. Now, be aware of what your transcript records include. Treat it like a credit report. You need to know what they're sending. Sometimes it includes your discipline and attendance way back to middle school. Now, we know in middle school, you act kind of middle schoolish and did some things that you should not have done. Maybe took out that cell phone one too many times, and you were tardy a lot of times. You may not want scholarship companies to see. You may not want them to see that information. So make sure you know what is being sent out before time. I taught in Northern Virginia, and it's a very diverse population. Well, in Tibet, I don't know if you know that, but their religious leader names the child. Well, he named everybody Tenzin. So every year I had in every class 2, 3, 5 Tenzins in my classroom. Boys, girls, it didn't matter. One time I had a parent. She had 5 boys. She named all 5 boys Tenzin. And I happened to have the freshman and the senior at the same time. So there were things all in both of their records that were meant for others, the other one. And so, like you said, errors do happen, but make sure you know what's in your file before they send it out. Now, if you had a very good attendance, you attended school, you may want your middle school grades to show. If you had your discipline, if you were you didn't get in trouble, you may want that. But if you're not, now, a scholarship I do sit on, we don't ask for that information. But if it's there, am I going to read it? Yes, I'm going to read it. Okay. Timing might be such that your transcript will only include first semester of your senior year. but you must still strive to do well second semester as it impacts your GPA. We all know seniors get this thing called senioritis. Hey, I got the school I want. I got the money. I'm set. I done talked to my roommate. We got it. We good. We straight. Well, schools still have to send in. They still send your transcripts in, and for your second semester. Now, school doesn't end until like May, June, some places, and so they get them around the summertime, July, August. So it was one lady, she's a admissions counselor in New York at the State University of New York at Oswego. Her name was Monica Soto Guardado. She had a young lady, and the young girl had anywhere between like an 85 to 95 average. She had very high SAT and ACT scores, and she was taking her senior year AP Science, and she was taking AP US History. So they offered her admission, and they also gave her a scholarship. Well, her grades came in the middle of July. And that high average, almost 90, it went down to a 76. And she talked to her coworker. She says, "Oh, look at her average is a 76." They said, "Well, you got to find out what happened. Maybe something tragic happened in her life. There's something going on." So when she called her, she says, "I noticed your grades went down. Did something happen?" She said, "Oh, well, I worked at the mall and I lost my job at the mall. And my boyfriend and we broke up." And she said, "Okay." So she went back to her coworkers and said, "Oh, we can't take her with that. That's what's wrong." And so they had to call her and tell her, "I'm sorry, we cannot, not only are you getting your scholarship, you're not going to be admitted." Well, a week later, the father called the counselor and he begged her. And she said, she heard it in his voice, "Please, is there anything we can do?" Now, in the background, he could hear the girl going, "My life is ruined. I will never go to school." And he could hear the mother yelling, "I told you so. I told you so." So she told her, "Well, nothing we can do at this time. She cannot be admitted. But what I would suggest to do is have her go to a community college, take a full load, do very well, and apply back in a year." He said, "Well, the community college, they've already accepted this. It's no more application." He said, "Well, find one that's near her." So a year later, he called her back. He said, "I took your advice. We found a school that she got in. She went there. She made good grades. She applied, and she'll be attending college next year." And but more than that, she learned her lesson. And that was the takeaway from that. So please don't give up, because, your first semester, they're going to send those other grades there. Next, please. Next slide, please. Letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation give insight into your personal, professional, and academic abilities. Letters of recommendation can be from a teacher, a coach, a counselor, a community leader, employer, a church leader, or other. Next, please. Now, I was a high school math teacher, so I was asked to write many recommendation letters. But if I had the student every day, I only saw them for 1 hour, 5 days a week. I did not know what they did all this other time. So what you should do is come up with a profile sheet, and you should include your activities, your experiences, your community activities, your college major, your academic goals, any awards you have, and personal qualities, your GPA. You give me that. That's my cheat sheet, and I can write a better letter for you. Don't ask your relatives, especially if they have the same last name. I remember us getting an application, and the lady even said, they asked you what's your relationship. She said, "That's my grandson's girlfriend." So please don't write people that are related to you, because we know your auntie's going to give you a good recommendation. Try to keep it to 1 page. We don't need to read a dissertation. After 1 page, that's it. That's all we have enough for. So you don't have to write a dissertation. Just make sure to keep it to 1 page. And do not have it written to a specific scholarship so you can use it over and over again. If it's a time thing. Now, I've had people give me a letter on Friday, ask a request on Friday, and they want it Monday. Like I didn't have a weekend. The more time you give to the person doing it, I think you get a better one. And I know with me, you gave me a week, you might get a lot better, but not on Friday asking for a Monday. Also, if they're asking to send it to somewhere, have an envelope address for them, have a stamp on it, prepare, do as much as you can to help that person out who's writing that letter. Always thank the person for writing your letter, and make sure that the person likes you. I have been asked to write letters, and I'm thinking, I am the best person they found to write a letter for them. So make sure that person, whether it's a teacher, a counselor, your religious leader, someone, that they like you and like the things that they seem you do. All right. Next, please. Interview. Interviews can be intimidating, any kind of interview. So be careful. Preparation can help you break through that nervousness and present yourself calm and confident. Next, please. Some tips. Familiarize yourself with the organization given the scholarship thoroughly. Okay, so you all have computers, you have your Google, you have your Bing, you have your Yahoo. You can Google that organizations that are giving you a scholarship to find out who they are. I think Carolyn talks about a time she was on the Martin Luther King Jr. scholarship, and somebody had Googled Martin Luther, and they had done and Martin Luther, and they were talking about that in their essay for their scholarship. So make sure you know a lot about, or a little about, at least who is interviewing you. Practice, develop your verbal, but not only your verbal, but your nonverbal skills, your smile, your eye contact, your facial expressions. Practice that. Get in front of a mirror and talk. Pick an appropriate outfit to wear, like you would wear to a job interview. We had a young lady one time, and she got there and her dress was very nice and neat. It's a little short, but when she sat down, it got shorter and it got tighter. And the whole time she was interviewing, she was pulling the dress down. I know she couldn't concentrate on what the questions were because she was doing that. So make sure not only you stand, and guys too, you stand, you make sure when you sit down, you are comfortable and it looks good on you. Look at the mirror. Shake hands when you arrive, and make good eye contact with the person. Be on time. They're going to be there waiting for you. Luckily now they have a lot of Zoom, and they have electronic interviews, so that helps out some. But be on time. But so if it's one on that you have to attend, go to physically, we have weather, we have construction, we have traffic, we have trains, detours. Sometimes GPS will send us on the other side of town. So make sure you know where you are going. You may want to do a drive-by at night, or go the day before to find out where it is. Maybe I found out where it was, but then at night, the interview is 6 o'clock, it's dark. And I'm like, I can't find it. So you don't want that's when you get anxiety and things like that. We don't want you to have that before your interview. Okay. During the interview, don't rush your answers. When they ask a question, I always do a 3-second rule. For 3 seconds, I just breathe and listen to it. And then I proceed to tell the answer. Think at your interview as a conversation rather than an interrogation. And stop talking when you have made your point. And that's what happens. We go on and we answer the question, but we ramble. So I have made a thing where I numbered, and I'll say, when they ask a question, so, well, my 3 reasons. So I know when I finish on the 3rd reason, that's it. I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to keep on going. Also, be able to read the room. Look at your participants, are they smiling? They're shaking their head. They're giving you good. But when you see that and it gets like that, maybe we need to stop talking. Honesty is the best policy. Just be you. Just be you. Thank the panel for interviewing you also. Now, you've heard the statement, don't lose $140,000 scholarship for a 140-character tweet. I think Carolyn started and talked about your social media. I can be here all night talking about how many people or situations where people have lost their scholarship, lost admittance because of something they have said or done on social media. I did find something a little unique though. It was a gentleman by the name of Donna De La Haye, and he used to love to do YouTube videos. And he was a football player. And ever since, he was a kid, he used to do those. And so he used to get a little modest, he was monetized. So he got a little modest salary every month about these football videos. Well, the NCAA has a rule on players not making any money from the likeness or their reputation. Well, because he was doing these videos, he was making money, he was on the football University of Florida football team, they found out. And that was the end of that. He was off the team, lost his football scholarship. So you have to be careful in that instance too. That was something unique I saw that he had done. Another instance I would talk about was a gentleman named Marcus Stokes. They say he was supposed to be the best quarterback around. He had, from a child, had wanted to go to University of Florida. I don't know something about that University of Florida. And he was an excellent quarterback. Well, he was in his car singing a rap song, he said, and it had a racial slur. 2 seconds, he said that word. 2 seconds. He not, in his car, it would have been okay. But why do we have to post? He posted it. And the rest is history. He lost the scholarship. He was not admitted to the college. Now, colleges say that, they don't go looking for trouble. But you got to understand, when you apply for a scholarship or you receive one, there are other people. Granted, he's made a quarterback, but you know how many other people wanted that position? And they sometimes will tell and show what happened. So you have to be, like you said, I think Carolyn mentioned it earlier, look through your social media. You forgot that was there and clean it up. If you can't show your parents, you don't need to have it there. Okay? It's not worth it. I know you talk about freedom of speech and, but not at this time. We're trying to get some money. Okay? And you never know who's watching. Even though you put it on TikTok, you think it's not going to go anywhere. Somebody has taped it. Okay? Next. Finish up your application. Make sure your application is clean, neat, and error-free. Carolyn mentioned earlier, it's best to type it because when you read it, and it's difficult for me to read, I tell you, I may not be the best person at the end of it, of reading it to evaluate it. So please make sure it's neat and clean. Make sure your application is completed in its entirety. Sometimes we have people that sit and they go through the application, make sure you have all the components. If you don't have something, they just toss it aside. We don't even take the time to read it. So make sure every question is answered. Get somebody else to look at it, someone to review your application materials, because sometimes they can see things you cannot see. Make a copy just in case. We know that how the things get lost on the web. So make a copy and mail the application to the right place with adequate postage. When you have to put your resume in and you're putting recommendations, sometimes that mail is a little heavy. Okay. And if it's sometimes 3 cents. Well, the organization's not going to pay 3 cents. They're going to send it right back to you. And you've lost and then by this time, it's too late. So make sure if they have, and last, but make sure it gets to the right place on time. Pay attention to the postmark or in-hand requirements. Now, I've had people say, well, I mailed it on that date. Well, you mailed it on that date. You went right past it, drove past it, and put it in the box. That's not going to say they can stamp it. If it's due on, they want it postmarked by the 12th, go in, take the time to go in there and have them hand stamp it. They will do it in front of you. You can see it. So you know that. Otherwise, who's to say that they will do that if you put it in the box? So I suggest you do that. Okay. I think I'm finished at this point. Thank you.
So thank you for that information. Right now, we had a school counselor scheduled, but she became ill. So I'm not going to talk a lot about this information because I don't want to give you incorrect information. But we are going to put in the chat some documents for you to download that has detailed information about the free application for federal student aid and West Virginia scholarships. The one thing I would like to say is seniors, the FAFSA opened December 1st, and you should have completed it or take this time during the winter break to complete the FAFSA. Also, your parents are going to need to complete their portion. I always recommend that you do it together. I think the most common mistake has always been that the parent will fill out the form for their child, but they'll fill it out as it's for them. So the information is in the wrong place. So the parents' information is in the student's place. So that's why it's important to sit down together. Also, this application, your code or whatever you're going to get, you're going to have that throughout college. So you need to use an email that will not change. So I know that school students have school email addresses. You do not want to use that email address. You want to make yourself a Gmail account, like has already been said, a professional email account that you can use. Also, you need to keep this information someplace where it's not going to be lost. Now, I know that we have electronic devices and we put them in there, and what if it doesn't get to the cloud, or you lose it, or you break your phone? Have your parents keep it for you in a file so that you don't remember, because you're only going to use it once a year. So you're going to have to create some of those, answer some questions in case you lose it. You might not remember your answers. You might not remember your password, and your parents are going to need a password. So keep all that information together. And remember, again, this is also a common mistake. The main F in FAFSA is free. So if you go to a website, a lot of times people go to the wrong website and it'll say FAFSA, and they start completing that application, and at the end, they ask you for a fee, you are on the wrong website. You just X on out of that. Get out of it, because you don't pay. Again, you don't pay for pay money to get money, and this is a free application. So make sure, if you have not completed the FAFSA yet, go ahead and do it. I also want to let you know West Virginia has a host of scholarships beyond Promise and the West Virginia Invest Grant. The documents that are in the chat for you to download has all the information that you need to apply for these scholarships. Promise Scholarship is open. Apply for it. I know that there are students, because I used to be a high school counselor, say, I'm not going in-state. I don't want to go in-state. And so they don't want to apply for in-state scholarships, thinking that that's going to keep them from going in-state. Fill out the application. Fill it out. We don't leave money on the table. You can always tell people no. So you want to apply for the Promise Scholarship. There are some other West Virginia scholarships there too. There's a STEM scholarship for those going into STEM fields. There's the Underwood Smith Teaching Scholarship. There's a nursing scholarship. There's the Higher Education Grant Program. Also, they have several loan reimbursement programs. Now, these are scholarships that we didn't talk about. Sometimes when you pay attention to a scholarship may give you money if you work so many years in that state for that company, whatever it may be. So, for example, for every year I pay for you to go to college, you have to work 2 years in that particular state. So, and if you say at the end, I found a better job in a different state, then that scholarship will revert to a loan, and you'll have to pay that money back. So you want to pay attention to that type of detail also. But I do have friends, I have sorority sisters who got their medical school debt paid for by working in the state, okay? Working in the state of West Virginia. And we know how much it costs to go to medical school. So another thing I was told, the school counselor who became ill wanted me to share with you that the CFWV, which is West Virginia's college planning website, has a 21st Century Scholar cord. So when you graduate and you wear stoles and honors, they have a cord. If you sign up to receive their texts, which is going to give you update information about scholarship and grants and financial aid, file the FAFSA. You must stay receiving those texts through, I think, April 15th, and apply for the Promise or for the West Virginia Invest Grant. Doesn't say you have to receive them. It says apply. Then you'll receive an honors cord to wear at graduation. So I wanted to share that information with you also. So that is information about West Virginia scholarships and the FAFSA. The detailed information is in those documents. Please sit down and review them with your students. And for those who are younger on this call, research those scholarships now so that you can be checking off which one that you may want to apply for. So next slide. So how can we do better? Give us your feedback. We want you to take our evaluation, our survey. You can use the QR code here. If you're not as savvy as using the QR code, there will be a link in the chat for you. And we want student and parent to fill this out. Okay, not just the student and not just the parent. Okay, so do we have any questions? Are there any questions? Do we see any questions in the chat?
We received questions earlier about whether the presentation would be shared. We are going to post the video of this presentation on our website. So that way you get the slides as well as the contextual information that was verbally provided by the presenters. We will put that website in the chat, and we encourage you to go to the website in the next 3 or 4 days to see the recording. Beyond that, I do not see any other specific questions.
Okay. So, well, then I have a couple more while you're filling out the survey.
We do have one question that just popped up.
Go ahead.
Actually, we've got a couple questions. We have a question. Do these scholarships apply to international students?
I will answer. All scholarships are individual to that scholarship, what the requirements are. So you'll have to look at the requirements for the scholarship to see if it states that you must be a U.S. citizen. I'll also, yield to our presenters if that's correct, and what do you believe?
The scholarship packets that I have looked at, many of them do not ask if a student is a citizen. But I would think that if it does, then that's probably going to exclude you if you're not a citizen.
We have another question. I think, Carla, you made mention of the promise, and someone said, what was the other that you recommend to apply for?
Well, I recommend you apply for all of them, but there's a West Virginia Invest grant for students who are going to two-year schools, and it covers certain majors, but all that information is in those documents that we posted in the chat. And you can also go to the CFWV website.
We have a question. It says, do high schools themselves give out scholarships as well, even if you don't stay in state?
Yes.
That again,
there are some of those that are Pacific scholarships, like cheerleaders or something like that. Those scholarships can be used, but they're Pacific for Pacific populations, but they can be used outside of state. And many of the scholarships that are organizations like Masonic lodges, I'm sure EPAC too, Carl, am I correct? Mm-hmm. Those scholarships can be used out of state. The scholarship will generally tell you if it needs to be used in state. Yes. But yes, generally speaking, they can be used out of state.
Yes. So the scholarship directories or booklets that were referred to will have different scholarships in them that have different requirements. Some of them may say they must be used at a West Virginia college, but many of them do not. Mm-hmm. So you just have to look at the requirements for those scholarships.
There's a follow-up follow-up question about the earlier question, do these scholarships apply to international students? That same person had a follow-up that said the student is at a high school here and is legal, but is, for example, on a J2 visa. So they provided that information about a student that they have in mind.
That I don't know. I don't think that we could get into that information because I don't want to give you incorrect information. I think that you should probably go to your school counselor, go to that office, set up a meeting, and sit down and talk to them. And if they don't know the answer, they can research it for you.
There's a participant who asked, in which part of the website menu will we find the recording and the presentation slides? I'm going to look that up. Let me see. We're going to go to the next question. I'll come back to you with that answer. There's another question. In which part? Okay, yeah. In what parts of the website menu we'll find it? Here's another question. For a current junior, what is the logical timeline for applying for admissions and scholarships? Does everything take place in your senior year?
Again, I'm going to say this one, if I was a junior this year, I would be setting up an appointment with my school counselor and with my parents also. But I would sit in there and start setting up appointments with my school counselor to talk to them. Even if I was younger also, just so they can get to know you. Because when you have a caseload of 350, 400, you may not know everybody and everything about them. But when you can start applying to college depends on that individual college. So it'll say the applications for this academic year starts now, okay? Start researching scholarships now and set up your own chart, your own Google spreadsheet, Google Sheets or whatever of names of scholarships, how you apply, and the deadlines. You know, for college applications, are you going to apply via Common App? Does the school take Common App that you're applying to? Do you have to apply individually to their website? Because most applications now are going to electronic. So that's when you're looking at the schools to see.
And the other thing I would say too, Carla, is for those who are online, is that it's not too early for October to apply for your schools, because some of those scholarships come in December and January. Schools let out in December. You're not going to be able to get a letter of recommendation. You know, you're on winter break and you need these things, and by January, a certain date, or February. So you need to start early. If you get a early acceptance at a university or college, and you have that in hand by November, you're in good shape when it comes to any scholarships that you need to have ready by the end of December or the 1st of January. Now, it could be maybe you decide you don't want to go to that school, but you still have an acceptance letter in hand. So, and that's very important.
I would say by July, August before your senior year begins, you should know what schools you plan on applying to, and you should research them to know when their due dates are and how you're going to apply. How are you going to apply? Are you applying regular admission, early admission, whatever it is? If you're applying out of state, I say apply. The earlier you apply, the better off you are to apply to those schools. The other thing that I was going to mention is that you can go to the particular websites of the colleges that you are planning to apply to and look what scholarships they offer for incoming freshmen. And not only on a general level, what they offer to incoming freshmen, but also if you're majoring in something particular, you can go to that college. So let's just say, I'll use WVU as an example. So WVU has scholarships for merit-based when you come in. But also, if I am a ag major or I can go to the School of Agriculture and see if they have any scholarships for incoming freshmen. And then I can look at those due dates and then look to apply. I also need to research, do I have to not only be accepted to that college to apply for the scholarship in the department, but do I have to put down my academic deposit? You see? So not only do I need to be have applied and been accepted, but maybe I also have to put down my academic deposit, and you can get that back, or at least partial of it back by a certain time period. So those are the types of details you're looking at when you're applying for scholarships.
And some of these scholarships too will apply to community colleges and 2-year schools. So just because you're applying for a scholarship, take in mind that if you're not ready for a 4-year school, you want to go to a 2-year school or community college, that is appropriate too. And some of these scholarships, some of them will apply to those schools also.
And the other thing I wanted to say is, you want to know the difference when it's like I said, a lot of these applications are going electronic and you upload things yourself. But you want to know the difference when you're sending transcripts between official transcripts and unofficial transcripts. If it's asking for an official transcript, do they want it sent from your your school counseling office? Or are you able to submit it? Does it need to be in a sealed envelope? Or can I use a copy I already have? Am I able to upload it? Because now also a lot of the transcripts are coming electronically also from high school level. So you want to look at that also.
Well,
I always say don't leave money on the table. Apply for everything. The worst thing they could say is no, you didn't get it. And that's okay. But I have had students say, I'm not applying for, I have forced students in the past when I worked in high school to apply for Promise. And they didn't want to because they were going to go out of state. But sometimes things happen and you can't go out of state for whatever reason. It could be financial through your family. It could be something that you just changed your mind, or you go and you have to come back. So, I know it used to be, I don't know if now, at WVU, if I apply for a scholarship at WVU as a high school senior, and I am awarded that scholarship, their general merit scholarships, and then I can delay, I'm saying I'm going to delay my admission. I'm not going to say I'm delay it because I'm going to go out of state, but I'm not going to tell them, I'm just going to delay it. If I have to come back that next year, I get that scholarship because I delayed my admission. But if I had turned it down or not applied for it at all, then all I get is a transfer student scholarship, which is significantly less than those incoming freshman scholarships from high school students. So those are the things also that you should research.
Okay, we don't have any more questions, but I do want to acknowledge the person who asked about the recording and where to find it on the website. We will post this recording on EPAC's website, www.epac-dst.org. If you go to our website, you can go to the media page and you will be able to find that recording. It'll be posted in the next 3 to 4 days. Additionally, because you all registered with an email address, we can send the link to our YouTube channel, which will also have the recording. And we will email out that link in the coming days as well, so that you can access it on our YouTube channel. And that's it for the questions.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you all for coming out this evening. We would like to thank also the Berkeley County Diversity Council for partnering with us to sponsor this workshop again. I would like to thank our tech support. You heard the voice of one, Sor Tamara Togans, and our other behind the scenes was Sor Erica Logan. So we would like to thank them. We hope that you learned something useful tonight that will assist you in your scholarship search, whether you are a freshman or a graduating senior. Thank you.